you've just written a piece about this 20 year look back on Colin Powell and getting us into this Iraq war. What stands out to you now, 20 years in hindsight? You were, of course, sounding the alarm about what was about to unfold. There were no weapons of mass destruction, no evidence of chemical weapons, and then no one, the government didn't want to listen, and millions of people died as a result of it. When you look back on that now, what do you think about those days 20 years ago?
Yeah. I entered the UN inspection process with eyes wide open. I mean, I knew what we were doing. I knew what the American policy was regarding Saddam Hussein. And it was difficult. When I first joined, I actually went down to Washington, D.C., and I said that because a lot of people make me out to be this naive Boy Scout. Ain't nothing naive about me. I went to Washington, D.C., and I said, look, I know what the policy is, regime change. But the United Nations is talking about disarmament. And if we disarm, sanctions will be lifted, and that undermines regime change. Is there a game being played here? If there is, I don't want wink, wink, nod, nod. I need you to tell me straight up there's a game being played. I'm a big boy. I'm an adult. And then I will make a decision whether I want to play that game with you or not. And I probably would have because I'm an American and I do what my government tells me. If I think the cause is just, and at that time I was convinced Saddam Hussein was one of the most evil men on the planet. But they said straight up, nope, you need to implement a Security Council resolution, and you work for the executive chairman, and you take your orders from the United Nations. And I said, so that's the will of the government? They said, yeah. So I spent the next 7 years doing exactly that, only to find out that there was wink, wink, nod, nod going on. They wanted me to do something else. And I said, no, I got my orders. I obey my orders. My orders are to faithfully execute the mandate of the Security Council. But there was always this struggle taking place. So I understood the conflict in the United States about Saddam Hussein's continued survival and how what I was trying to do with disarmament interrupted that. I resigned because of it, but I didn't feel betrayed by my government at that point in time. I was angered by the policies. The betrayal came because to be frank, prior to that, the people paying the price were the Iraqi people. And while my heart goes out to the Iraqi people, as an American and as a Marine, my loyalty is to my Marines, to that. So, I resigned on principle, et cetera. But as I saw my country going to war, that's a whole different, concept. And I firmly believe that you can't go to war unless you've exhausted all possibilities to resolve the issues peacefully. And you have to go to war being honest about this. It's one thing to lie so you can continue to strangle Iraq. It's another thing to lie to put American lives on the line. And what I saw in the lead up is that the American government was willing to lie to the American people to make a case for war that would cost thousands of Americans their lives, but it was a dishonest case. And I did my best to speak out against that and say, no, I'm not going to let Iraq off the hook. They don't have what you claim for them to be having, and it's not worth the drop of the blood of any Americans on this. Colin Powell was a man that I held in the highest regard. I had interacted with him in the past during the INF Treaty when he was one of the guys that got that treaty off the ground. During the Gulf War, he had my back when people were angry that I was telling the truth about not killing any Scuds. And as a weapons inspector, he stopped the CIA from removing me and two other Americans because we weren't playing the wink, wink, nod, nod game. So I held this guy in high regard. But when he sat there in front of the Security Council and he told lie after lie after lie after lie to justify us going to war, I said, oh my God, well, I'm not naive. I know the U.S. government lies, but to lie to the American people like this, to go to war, it broke my spirit. And ever since then, what I've come to realize is that American officials are incapable of telling the truth about anything. because from that moment on, we have never told the truth about anything. We haven't. Everything we say is a lie. And that's what I've taken away from this. And here's the part that hurts. It's one thing for an American official to tell a lie. It's another thing for the American people to be empowered with the knowledge and information that proves that that is a lie, and then do nothing to hold that person accountable because you become complicit in the lie. It's the same thing we talked about with that American service member who was aware of a war crime taking place in Ukraine, who was facilitating that war crime and doing nothing to stop the war crime. Our government lies to us on a daily basis, and we, the people of the United States of America, do nothing to hold them to account for these lies, so we become partners to that lie. And this is what's heartbreaking, because we are literally a nation that lives on a throne of lies.